My name is Eva, and I live in America. I say that first because it matters where a story stands. Mine stands on a small patch of grass in Cleveland, a city of brick and lake wind, where my little blue house sits on Maple Street like a polite smile in a row of tired mouths. I bought that house 2 years ago with my own hands and my own card. The deed is in my name. The bank knows my voice. When I unlock the front door, it makes a soft click I can feel in my ribs, the sound of a life I paid for month after month. $2,400 to the mortgage, $180 to water, $95 to gas, and whatever the lights and internet came to when the bill landed in my inbox with its calm numbers and its due dates. I kept all of it simple and quiet, like steady breath. I kept other things simple, too. I tracked every dollar in a plain notebook with a green cover. On the inside page, I wrote, "House first." That meant I brought lunch from home and skipped cabs and watched the sales rack like a hawk. It meant I bought the couch secondhand for $120, the coffee table for $35, and painted the walls myself on a Saturday with a small radio for company. I set up auto pay for the insurance at $110 and kept a little buffer for repairs because houses always ask for something. I even made a folder for receipts and wrote down the name of every person who ever came by to fix a thing, like Mr. Carter, who patched the roof in spring and said, "You've got a good eye, kid," which felt like a medal I didn't have to polish. You would think a mother would see all that. You would think she would look at a daughter who pays and holds and keeps the lights on and say thank you. But love inside a family can twist. It can act like a mirror that throws back the wrong face. That day, a Wednesday, I was kneeling on a rug in my room, sorting laundry and matching socks, when I heard the front door bang. The house shook a little. Mom's voice came first, then the clack of hard heels down the hall. She peered in my doorway with a cardboard box so full the bottom sagged. Her hair was pinned up in a way that means trouble. Behind her stood my sister, Chloe, with her newest manicure, and Jason, her husband, trying to look important while his eyes darted around like he was counting. "Move your junk," Mom said, and her voice had a bright edge. "They're taking this room." I laughed once because it seemed like a bad joke. "This is my room," I said. "Mom, no." She pointed at my posters, my books, my old guitar propped in the corner near the window that looks out at a maple tree older than our whole line. She didn't touch the guitar. She just aimed the point of her finger like a sharp pen and said, clear as a bell with a crack in it, "Bullsh *T. Get out, freeloader." The word hit me right in the chest. It knocked a thought out of me like a bird from a branch. She doesn't know. She truly doesn't know. She doesn't know that the auto pay is my card. She doesn't know that the voicemail from the bank goes to me, that the new furnace came from my savings, that I stayed late at the bookstore on Euclid Avenue for extra hours so the escrow would stay healthy, and that the winter heat would be steady. She doesn't know that while she bragged to Aunt Grace at Thanksgiving about the house we all keep up, I was washing dishes with my sleeves rolled up, making a list in my head of due dates and meter readings, and the way money moves like water if you don't cup your hands just right. Chloe rolled her eyes at me, bored already, like we were kids again, arguing over the back seat. Jason gave me a small, smug look that said men should have the big rooms. "You can take the den," he offered, like a king tossing a coin. The den is a room with no door and a draft that creeps under the baseboards in December. I thought how funny it is that people will try to make you small inside your own house, and how easy it is to let them if you don't stand straight. I didn't talk about the deed. I didn't pull out the folder with my name on the top line and the bank's stamped letters arranged like teeth. I didn't give a speech about budgets or carry in the spreadsheet I keep on my laptop that shows how every $1 has a job. I could have. I could have opened the account on my phone and said, "See?" I could have told Mom about the night I sat in the kitchen paying bills while she slept in front of the TV, the glow of a late movie on her face like fake moonlight. But sometimes sharing the truth with people who refuse to see it is like pouring dollars down a drain. The sound is just a hush, and the hole stays a hole. I looked around my room so I would remember it. The small shelf with paperbacks, the mug full of pens, the world map tacked above the bed where I had circled Cleveland and, in a soft pencil, written America in the margin like a promise, and in one corner of the map I had scribbled, Europe, near the ocean like a note for later. I saw the lamp I fixed myself and the small rug I bought on sale for $18 when I was feeling brave. I saw the life I made by paying attention. I saw the house that trusted me. Mom started to pile my things into the box without looking at me. A sweater fell on the floor. A picture frame slid in sideways.
"Hurry up," she said.
"Don't make this messy." It was already messy, but not in a way a broom can touch. I stood. I picked up my phone from the nightstand. My hand was steady. I had one call I had saved in my head for months, a call I hoped I would never need, the kind you keep in your pocket when you are the person who pays, and you know the weight of that. I scrolled to the number. I looked at my mom, at Chloe, at Jason, and at the doorway they had already decided was theirs. "I hear you," I said, and I did. I heard them say, with their faces in their hands, that I belonged outside my own door. I pressed the button. The line rang. Somewhere, a system waited to do what I asked. When the voice answered, I said my name in a calm voice I barely recognized, and I said, "It's time." I didn't pack anything. I didn't collect proof. I left my pay stubs in the drawer and the note on the fridge that said, "Trash day is Tuesday," because routines can be kinder than people. I walked down the hall past the family photos where we smiled in cheap shirts at Lake Erie, past the kitchen where the list of chores sat under a magnet, past the living room where the $120 couch waited like a good dog. I opened the front door. The evening air was cool and smelled like rain and cut grass. The streetlights on Maple Street blinked on one by one, the way they always do. I stepped onto the porch, closed the door behind me, and the click was still the sound of a life I paid for. Then I walked into the Cleveland night with $40 in my wallet and my shoulders square, and I did not look back. I made the call on the sidewalk, under a streetlight that hummed like a quiet bee. The bank picked up with a calm voice that asked for my name, my date of birth, the last 4 digits of my social security number, and the answer to a question I wrote 2 years ago. "Favorite teacher?" I said, "Mrs. Quinn," and the system opened like a door. Asked them to stop every auto pay tied to the house on Maple Street. Mortgage. Utilities are drawn through bill pay. Insurance. I moved my checking balance into a new account with a fresh number. I set a new password with letters and numbers, and a phrase only I would recall. I added a 2-step code that pinged my phone. I locked the door behind me with numbers no one else knew. The rep asked if I wanted to keep a small buffer in the old account to avoid an overdraft. "No," I said, steady. "Make the balance $0." She read back the list. Mortgage draft of $2,400 paused. Water auto pay of $180 paused. Gas of $95 paused. Insurance of $110 paused. Internet and power canceled through the bank side. She gave me a reference number and said it like it mattered.
It did.
I wrote it on my palm in pen, and then again in my green notebook. Proof that I had finally stopped feeding a mouth that called me a freeloader. When we hung up, the night air felt thin and new, like the first dollar in a jar. I called the mortgage servicer next and spoke to a man named Daniel, who used careful words and told me they would expect payment by the 15th, as always. "I know," I said. "I'm simply ending the automatic draft. Any future payment will come from me if I choose to send it." He cleared his throat and said he understood. I called the power company and the water office. I called the internet provider and sat on hold while a recorded voice told me about faster speeds and bundle deals. I pressed the buttons. I said, "Remove my card." Each time a system let go, I felt a knot loosen behind my ribs. When the money was quiet, I called Sarah. She is my oldest friend, the kind who keeps a spare key for you even when you don't ask. She lives across town, near the river, where the air smells like iron and lake wind. She picked up on the first ring. I said, "I'm outside," and my voice broke once. She said, "Come over," before I asked. No questions, no lecture, just the quick trust you can set your weight on. I walked 3 blocks to the bus stop, paid $2.50, and rode past the lit windows of Cleveland. I watched the faces and thought about how money is a kind of weather that people don't see until it changes. Sarah met me at her door in socks and an old college hoodie. She put a blanket on her couch and a mug of hot cocoa in my hands. The steam warmed my face like a kind hand. "You can stay as long as you want," she said. "You don't have to tell me everything tonight," I told her. The short version anyway. How Mom stood in my doorway with a box. How Chloe and Jason stared like I was a chair to be moved. How the word she used cracked like ice. Sarah shook her head and said one word I won't repeat, then, softer. "You did the right thing." I cried once into the mug and felt the heat come back to my eyes. Then I slept like a person who set down a heavy bag. Morning came with the light moving across the small rug in her living room, and the sound of the river, which is really the sound of trucks and gulls, but it makes a river in your mind anyway. I took a quick shower and put on the plain black sweater I keep for work. Sarah made toast and slipped a $20 bill under my phone in case I needed a cab later. I slid it back and said, "I'm okay," and I meant it, not as a show but as a choice. In America, people like to say, "I've got it," even when they don't. Today, I had it. At the bookstore on Euclid Avenue, the morning shift is all dust and boxes. I cut tape, shelved paperbacks, and pointed tourists to the table with novels set in New York. Around noon, a couple came in with bright eyes and asked for a guidebook to Europe. I handed them one that had a clean map and short words. They told me they were saving in dollars and counting in weeks, and I liked that. Simple math. They paid $24.99 plus tax and left smiling at each other, the kind of smile that wants the future to be a straight line. I wanted that once. Maybe I still do, but I'm learning it's okay to draw a new line. On my break, I checked my phone. 7 missed calls from Mom. 3 from Chloe. 1 from Jason. 2 voicemails from unknown numbers that I knew were bill offices asking for confirmation. The kind of calm voices that don't care about hurt, only due dates. I put the phone face down and ate my sandwich. The bread was dry, but the quiet around it tasted sweet. When my hand stopped shaking, I sent one text to Sarah. "I'm okay." She replied with a heart and a photo of her cat sleeping like a comma on my coat. After my shift, I sat in the break room and wrote a small plan in my green notebook. Step 1. Change the direct deposit at work to the new account. Step 2. Update the emergency contact to Sarah for now. Step 3. Call the insurance company again and remove the house policy from auto-renewal because they always try to be helpful in ways that trap you. Step 4. Price a small storage unit in case I can go back for my things, the guitar, the map, and the mug of pens. Step 5. Keep $100 cash tucked in my wallet in case the week bends. I wrote the numbers next to each step. Neat. $0 in the old account, $40 in my wallet, 2 paychecks coming on schedule, and 1 friend who answers on the first ring. When the store closed, the sky over Cleveland was the color of wet slate. I walked to the bus with my hood up, not hiding, just keeping warm. My phone buzzed again, and this time I let myself listen to one voicemail. Mom's voice was tight and bright. "Why didn't the mortgage go through?" She asked like I had lost a package she was waiting for. I stopped the message at 7 seconds. I didn't know her the math yet. Not today. Today was the day I learned that a phone can be a lever, and a lever can move a house, and sometimes the best way to speak is to stop paying for what hurts you. Back at Sarah's, I folded my sweater over the arm of the couch and sat for a long minute with my hands around another mug, tea this time. I could feel the old panic knocking under my ribs, asking to be let back in. I told it no. I told them I have a new account and a code that only I know. I told them I live in America where a woman can own a house and also walk away from one if it stops being a home. I told them that my name is on a deed and also on a small plan written in ink that will carry me through the week. Then I turned off my phone, set it face down, and let the room be quiet. The next day started with a sound that did not belong to the morning. It was a deep thud from downtown, followed by sirens that stacked on top of each other until the air itself seemed to shake. News alerts flashed across my phone. A bomb had gone off near the square. People ran. People cried. News vans crowded the street like metal cattle. A line formed outside the clinic for blood donations that wrapped around the block twice. I texted the few people I love. "Are you safe?" No one I knew was hurt, but fear moved through Cleveland like smoke under a door. I held Sarah's hand on her couch and watched the anchors run out of new words. For a few hours, the whole city spoke in whispers. Even the gulls over the river seemed to lower their voices. We made coffee and stood by the window and looked at nothing. I kept thinking how fast life can tilt, how a street can turn from normal to sirens in one breath. The quiet inside me did not last. By noon, my phone lit up with money talk, sharp and bright. Mom's first text read, "Why didn't the mortgage go through?" Then Chloe, "Power company says we're late. Fix it." Jason added, "Internet's down. We have work." It was strange, the way disaster can sit beside daily bills, how the same screen can hold a city's fear and a family's due dates. I stared at the messages until the words blurred. I had stopped all their payments. I had pulled my card and closed the door behind my dollars. The house they took from me would now have to carry itself.
I didn't reply.
I set the phone face down and poured more coffee, though my hands shook and the cup clinked against the counter. Sarah squeezed my shoulder. "Do you want me to answer for you?" she asked. "No," I said. "Today I don't explain." Outside, the city's sirens kept threading the air, like someone pulling a loud needle through cloth. Later, Aunt Grace called, whispering as if the walls in my old house had ears. "Your mother is losing it," she said. She told me Chloe dropped the ball. She says the bank called, and the power company is going to charge a fee. I looked at the green notebook open on Sarah's table, my small plan written in neat lines. "That's not what happened," I said. "I paid the bills. All of them. For 2 years. I listed them in a steady voice, the way I used to list them to myself on payday. $2,400 mortgage, $180 water, $95 gas, $110 insurance, plus the lights and internet. I stopped paying," I said. "I stopped yesterday." There was a long silence. Then Aunt Grace said one small word, soft and heavy. "Oh." While the city counted injuries and the mayor spoke about safety, reality did math in my mother's kitchen. The mortgage was already past due because the draft didn't pull. The water company wanted $360, 2 cycles, and a fee for being late. The insurance canceled the policy at midnight, neat and cold as a stamp. The power company sent a message that said, in calm words, they would start the process of turning off the lights. I knew these voices. I had carried them like a secret soundtrack for 2 years. Now my mother heard them for the first time, and it was like hearing your own name in a strange room. I could picture the scene without being there. Pots clattering, a drawer slamming, paper bills spread across the table like a losing hand. Mom turned to Chloe, the daughter she loved best. "You were supposed to cover it," she said, not a question. "You and Jason said you had it." Chloe's voice was going high and thin, and Jason was scratching his head and talking about a paycheck that hadn't landed yet. It is easy to plan with dollars that are not yours. It is harder to face a number that doesn't move when you ask it to. By late afternoon, Mom called again. I let it go to voicemail. Then she called once more, and I answered because some lines should not be cut, even when they sting. "Eva," she said, and her voice had lost its hard edge. "Please, did you change something?" The bank says. I kept my tone even, simple, like a sign with big letters. "I ended the autopay," I said. "I removed my card. I will not be paying for the house." She sucked in a breath. I could hear the kitchen air, the hum of the old fridge I bought for $420 on sale. "But how will we?" she started. "You will have to pay," I said. "Or make a plan." I did not say more. I did not offer a bridge back to the place where I was the quiet wallet in the wall. We stayed on the line and listened to each other breathe. Then I said goodbye. When the news finally said the immediate danger had passed, Sarah and I walked to the square with a bag of bottled water we bought for $9. We handed them to a few tired faces and went home. In the elevator, a man with a city logo on his jacket said, "Rough day." I nodded. I did not tell him that my day had 2 kinds of alarms, one for sirens and one for bills. Back in the apartment, I opened my notebook and wrote down the facts. House, not my cost. Phone, on silent. Work, steady. Savings, small but alive. I added a line I had not dared to write before. My life belongs to me. Close to evening, a man named Daniel from the mortgage office called to confirm your instructions. He spoke in careful terms, the kind used in letters with fine print. He reminded me of late fees, grace periods, and consequences. I told him I understood every word. I'll note the file, he said. For your records, you may receive letters. I will, I said. When we hung up, I felt a clean emptiness where the weight used to sit, like a shelf after you box up the heavy books. The quiet made room for air. Night came. The sirens slowed. The square began to look like a place again instead of a wound. I brushed my teeth and sat on the couch with Sarah, both of us tucked into blankets. I thought of my mom finding the drawer with my pay stubs and the neat piles of receipts, the way her face must have changed when she saw my name next to the numbers she thought came from nowhere. The truth had landed at last, a heavy book on the only shelf that fit it. I did not feel triumph. I felt tired. I felt like a person who had carried a house on her back and finally set it down. Before bed, I sent one last text to Mom. I'm safe. That was all. It was true, in more than one way. I turned off the lamp and let the room be dark. In America, even on rough days, tomorrow still puts itself on the calendar. I would go to work. I would keep my plan. The bills would keep speaking at my old house, and my mother would hear them. The world had shaken. The math had spoken. And somewhere between the blast and the balance, I had found a small, solid piece of myself that no one else could spend. Mom showed up at Sarah's place on a gray morning with a folded paper clutched in both hands. Rain hung low over Cleveland, soft and cold, the kind that makes the sidewalk shine. She looked older than she had 7 days ago, as if a year had climbed onto her back while she slept. Eva, she said at the door, voice small, I'm sorry. She held out the paper. It was a list in my own careful lines. Mortgage $2,400, water $180, gas $95, insurance $110, notes about due dates, names of reps, the reference number I had written on my palm after the call. She had found my drawer. She had found the pay stubs, the budgets, the fridge notes about trash day. She had found my quiet work. I'm sorry, she said again. Please come home. We stood in Sarah's small front room where the river wind sneaks under the windows. I breathed in, slow. Home is not a place where I am called a freeloader in my own room, I said. My words were plain and even. You chose Chloe and Jason over me. You threw away my things. You told me to get out. She cried the way adults cry when they do not want to. She tried to hug me. I let it be brief, then stepped back. Some hugs are repairs. Some are bandages. This one was only a bandage. The week after that became a map of numbers. Letters from the bank came with firm lines and dates in bold. Late fees sprouted like weeds. The water office sent a pink notice. The power company spoke in quiet threats about service. A man named Daniel, a real estate attorney, called to say, in the careful tone of people who handle heavy news every day, that my name was still tied to the note and we needed to talk. I met him downtown, 3 blocks from Public Square, in a room with blinds that sliced the light. He wore a blue tie and slid a sheet across the desk with columns of figures. Market value, balance, fees, the likely gap. He did not talk down to me. He did not rush. You have options, he said. None of them is simple. All of them are survivable. The house could not carry itself without my dollars. That was the clean truth. We walked through words like short sale, deficiency, and release. I signed where I had to sign. Daniel called the servicer while I sat with my hands flat on the table. I learned how money can turn a home into a file, and how a file can be closed with the right lines in the right order. I called Mom that night and told her what would happen next. She listened and did not argue. I think the numbers had already convinced her in a way my voice never could. A month later, the blue house on Maple Street changed hands for less than it had cost us all in time and paint and pride. I felt the loss like a bruise, dull and honest. Mom moved with Chloe and Jason into a small rented duplex on the west side. I saw it once from the bus. A narrow place with thin steps and a porch that leans. The rent is $1,200, due on the 1st forever. Chloe texted me that Jason had found new work at a warehouse near the lake. She added a sonogram a few weeks later, a pale moon on a screen, and wrote, "It's early, don't tell anyone." I did not tell anyone. Jason called once to ask for help with the deposit. I said no, not hard, just steady, and sent a list of community offices instead. I am not unkind. I am simply done paying for a life that calls me names. I stayed with Sarah until the knots in my chest loosened. She leaves tea on the counter with a note that says, "Warm me up when you're ready," and never asks more than I can give. On a bright Friday, I found a studio in the warehouse district with wide windows and chipped brick that looks good in the afternoon. The rent is fair. The light is free. I signed the lease with a pen that had a tiny feather taped to it for luck. I bought a secondhand sofa for $90 and a small fern for $12. I nailed 3 frames to the wall and put my green notebook on the shelf where I can reach it without standing on my toes. At night, the city hums like a sleepy train. I sleep through it. My budget is a simple ladder now. Paycheck up. Rent first. Groceries next. Transit pass. A line for savings that is small but real. I keep a glass jar by the door and drop loose dollars in it. Bus money.
Coffee money.
Dream money. On Sundays, I walk to the lake and let the wind press my coat against my ribs. The water curls like pages under my shoes. Sometimes I sit on a bench and write out a plan to visit New York for a long weekend once my jar reaches $300. I look at a map and touch the word America with my fingertip and feel proud that my life stands on its own feet again. Europe is still a quiet idea in the top corner of the map, a note for later. Mom texts now and then. "I miss you," she writes.
"I'm sorry," she adds.
Sometimes she sends photos of dinners in their new kitchen, which is the size of a hallway.
Sometimes she asks how my job is.
I answer with short, true lines. "I'm okay. Work is steady. I hope you are well." She tries to return to the old rhythm, but the old rhythm is gone. Boundaries is a new kind of music. They sound strange at first, then they start to carry the tune. Aunt Grace called once to say Mom keeps the copy of my budget in a drawer as if it were a photograph. People respect the work they do not have to do themselves, only after it stops being done. I keep small rituals. Thursday laundry. Saturday floors. A library card in my wallet and a bookmark made from a receipt that still smells like dust from the bookstore on Euclid Avenue. I painted one wall a careful white and left the others brick, so I would remember that a room can hold 2 truths at once, present and past. I hung my old map and circled Cleveland again, darker this time, as if saying to myself, "Start here." In the corner sits my guitar, tuned and quiet, the same as the day Mom pointed at it with a hard finger. When I strum, the sound fills the studio, bright and clean, and I think of the girl in that blue house who paid and kept quiet, and of the woman here who pays and speaks. When people ask why I left, I tell the simple truth. My mom dumped my things in a box and called me a freeloader so my sister and her husband could take my room. She did not know I was paying for the whole house. I made one call and walked out. The next day, a bomb exploded downtown, and the world felt sharp and short. I stopped the payments. The bills spoke louder than I ever could. The house was sold. They rent now. I live alone, and I pay my own way, in dollars I earn with my own hands. This is America, big and noisy and full of second chances. My life fits inside a few keys, a bank app, and a door that opens to light. I learned that on Maple Street. I will not forget it. I don't need to. I am free.